Coming up next, an interview with one of the biggest selling bands of the 70s on a song that became their third consecutive top 10 hit and a radio staple of that decade. The song conjured up imagery of a wondrous and mystical destination. And, the group has taken a lot of flack for decades over some of the lyrics, including one about flying alligators, or maybe listeners just heard them wrong or heard the lyric wrong. One strange lyric was used by a massive superstar a decade later in a song and a record that would blow up the world over. But these guys were actually the first to use it. He must have been hearing their stuff. With one of the most creative guitar lines of the time, it's a sonic time machine that will take you back to the carefree 70s in an instant. The interview's coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you ever got your hair cut with a Flowbee, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now and click the bell so you never miss out on our daily content or our interviews. Also, check us out on Patreon. So I'm excited to bring you yet another episode from our series Revelations, where featured artists go deep on their greatest songs and albums, stories you will not find anywhere else. We have a really great show today with one of the biggest bands of the 70s, one of the biggest hit makers out there at the band. They took over radio when their first single and album both hit number one. Their next single hit the top 10 as well. And they were off to the races when they won the Best New Artist Grammy in a very competitive year. They had them up against Loggins and Messina, the Eagles, John Prine, and Harry Chapin. Then they released their second album, Homecoming. That was kicked into high gear by their third straight top 10 hit, the Carefree sing-along, and today's song, Ventura Highway. Ventura Highway in the sun. The song became a staple of classic rock and pop radio thereafter, but as the band is going to tell you coming up next, they've taken some flack for some of the out-of-this-world lyrics that they had in the song, like alligator lizards in the air. Alligator lizards in the air. And the Old Man Joe, and of course, being hit by Purple Rain. Sorry, boy, but I've been hit by purple rain. Prince might have been listening to that one. Purple rain, purple rain. We definitely know that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who co-wrote and co-produced most of Janet Jackson's biggest hits, were listening, since, Miss Jackson sampled this song on one of her biggest hits. Coming up next, both Dewey Bunnell and Gerry Beckley tell us the story of the 70s classic in our exclusive interview. Well, Ventura Highway. I was born in the 70s, so I wasn't I didn't know what was going on. I was like 5 years old when the 70s ended. But to me, if there was a song that could transport you back to what the 70s was, that's what it feels like. It's one of those songs that's just so indelibly tied to the times. There's a lot of nostalgia in the song, Dewey. You shared some childhood memories with us, before about Horse with No Name. In the desert, you can't remember your name. Ventura Highway, I think I read somewhere it was 1963. You were in the 7th grade, got a flat tire. Your dad was fixing. Tell me about that.
That's the story. Well, I think when I'm ever asked if you had to pick one song, I'd probably pick Ventura Highway over Horse. You're gonna go, I know. But Ventura Highway, now we were all in California. I'd only been in California that year and a bit more, year and a half or whatever it was when my dad was stationed there. Otherwise, we were in different places around the U.S., like I said, Biloxi, Mississippi, Omaha, Nebraska, Pensacola, Florida, lots of places. But now we're in California, all three of us. It was perfect to pick up that song, Ventura Highway, that I'd been writing based on that year, like you said, 62, 63. I always remember because of the Kennedy assassination and Muhammad Ali winning the heavyweight title. For some reason, all that sticks out.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
So, yeah, and we would get driven to L.A. from there to visit some friends in the family car and all that stuff. You've heard the story that we pulled over, and up on the sign, on the freeway sign, there was Ventura or Ventura County, or it wasn't, because the Ventura Freeway is what, the 110, Jer, or no, not the 110.
134.
134.
No, the 101. Sorry, 101.
101. Anyway, those were just fragments I was pulling out for lyrics, but I was basically trying to recreate that sound of, the sun and surf and California vibe and the free wind blowing through your hair, and that's what it was all about.
'Cause the free wind is blowing through your hair.
And I always just liked the word Ventura too. It was something about that stuck in my head. I could have picked any town, or because there's no actual Ventura Highway. Actually, there is a highway, but now I confuse the matter. But it's basically called Ventura Freeway that everybody knows. But what did I care? It was just a road.
I think it's the Cha, right? It's the Cha in the Ventura Highway.
Ventura.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just,
Well, Ventura Highway, it was really Ventura Highway, but venture capital. You never say it's a venture capital company.
Yeah. Right.
So,
right.
yeah, I know, that's interesting. That little distinction. Oh, these are the details that really matter.
Ventura Highway.
I just equated it with adventure. Ventura. Hey, it's all happening. And
it's
it
like
was
Marina Highway. Words like that, they don't pack the punch like Ventura Highway. It works.
We had a tour manager who said that, that was the prime example of what we do, which is he called "Nothing Can Hurt Me Now" music. And meaning it's one of those tunes that when it comes on, it just lifts everybody's spirits. I would agree with Dew. I think, if you had to pick one that sums up the whole thing, that's probably my go-to.
In the sunshine, where the days are...
Something that I want to point out that you guys do better than anybody out there. You and Billy Joel do this so well in your music. Syncopation of lyrics. You do that so well, so singable. That's why I think you had so many hits, and Billy Joel does that really well too. It just works.
There's two examples of people who are writing and then singing their own material, as opposed to, I've written this, now it's your job to interpret it. Interpretation was the art. That was the craft. Frank Sinatra never wrote a song. It was up to him to phrase, how am I going to phrase that line? How am I going to, Sammy Cahn, all these great lyricists. But yes, when you're writing your own material, I think quite a bit of that goes into, like you were saying about the Joe DiMaggio. He needed 4 syllables.
It reminds me when Paul Simon, they asked him, why not Mickey Mantle? Why Joe DiMaggio? Joe DiMaggio was already gone. Why? Mickey Mantle was the player at the time. He's like, syllables.
4 syllables. I was going to tell you. I know the answer to that.
Sometimes it's as simple as that.
DiMaggio. Yep. So that's all about how do I fit this word? And that's why sometimes, at the risk of getting a little into it, you hear words like just, I just want to, you're just looking for another syllable. And it kind of irks the hell out of me when I hear things like that, because I kind of come from the school of, why use 14 words or syllables if 4 will do? Let's see what we can boil this down to. And I think one of the benefits of that is you get this lovely, simple, just the way it flows.
You don't care, I know.
Well, Ventura Highway, back to that, the sunny day, the ocean there, all of it inspiring you. It really has a go west young man kind of motif in the structure of the conversation, between the old man, Joe, and a young and hopeful kid. What was that modeled after?
Tell me, how long you gonna stay here, Joe?
There was a guy, again, back to Biloxi, that was he was actually apparently a retired detective or something. My brother and I would go fishing down in the back bay there, and he ran a bait shop or something. That was the image of the guy I was thinking of. But chewing on a piece of grass, walking down the road, was always just that kick the dirt, clod, walking, outdoor kind of a thing.
Walking down the road.
I don't know. It's hard for me to really dig back into that. You just made me think about the lyric, "Oh, come on, Joe." He's wanting to bring his old buddy with him. It's like the young guy wanting to drag the old guy with him. Like you said, go west where the action is. But the old guy's already established, and what's he going to do? And
This town don't look good in snow.
I think another thing in that tune is a great example for all of those struggling songwriters out there. And it's nothing that we did in I Need You, for example, but we did it, with aces in both Horse and Ventura, which is the power of a refrain. If you have a la, 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 the chorus is really, I've been through the desert, oh, no, that's the chorus. But then a refrain, it's like a whole nother chorus.
Yeah.
And in Ventura, we did the same thing with that whole section.
Yeah.
That's not the chorus, that's a refrain, but it adds, okay, how many pieces do you need to grab somebody with a song? It's great to have a great hook, but if you've got this, it's almost like a second chorus or refrain. And both of those are great examples of that.
And just to put the cherry on top of it, the lick, the diddly dee diddly dee diddly dee, which is such a ear-grabbing hook. It's in and of itself.
Signature.
You've got all those elements to that song. As soon as you hear that lick, the song is right behind it, right there.
Where did that come from? Because you hear the demo, when you hear the demo that you guys have on your big set.
The box.
Yeah. It's
not
like,
there.
It's slower and you're trying to figure it out. But how did you come up with that? Because it's so catchy.
In the sunshine.
Well, Gerry
Dan and I were messing around with, we thought, be nice to come out a little something to set it up. Dewey had this beautiful Latin kind of percussive way of playing the guitar, and he'd featured that on things like Three Roses and stuff, which is just this muted kind of strumming that he does so well. And in Ventura, it was that, and there was nothing wrong with that, but we thought maybe a little setup, maybe a little, and then it turned into a real thing because if you listen closely, each one of those licks is a little different. They go different lengths because they have to go right up to where the vocal phrase starts. Vocal phrase starts at a different position in the bar each time, so it took a bit of work.
Chewing on a piece of grass.
We added that lick and we took it when we went back to a guy that had been this guy, Jeff Dexter, who had been our manager at the time. And he heard it and he goes, yeah, you've ruined it. You've ruined it with that. And we said, I don't think we did. I think you might be wrong. We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah. Well, you were right for sure. Well, regarding the lyrics, seasons, crying, no despair, alligator, lizards in the air, you were talking about one time in an interview that it was the clouds, that you and your brother were standing there looking at the shapes of the clouds, and that's where that came from.
Seasons crying, no despair, alligator.
Yeah, there was some of that. That was true. We'd look at clouds. Alligator, lizards, I don't know what kind of lizard or alligator it was in the sky that looked like that. But I wanted to get that. Alligator lizard is a real animal that we used to catch. It's a lizard out there. It's in the skink family, and it's out in California. I think it's in a few other places. But so, I'm going to put in the name of an actual reptile that I like.
Yeah.
And the cloud formation, because I could have said crocodile. Wait, now we're back to syllables.
Yeah.
Crocodilian lizard. Anyway, it was, it's really, these things happen in a split second.
You could have said there's a bunny rabbit in the air.
In the air.
That would have gone. I hadn't thought of that at the time.
In the air.
Your first person to throw Purple Rain into a popular song.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I'll take credit.
And Prince, I'll tell you what, you guys are huge influences. You just never know. To do all these interviews and you hear the strangest things of the 700 plus whatever interviews. But Jimmy Jam, a huge fan. Jimmy
Yeah, no, I
Jam
know.
loves you guys. He brought you guys up like 6 or 7 times when he was talking about Janet Jackson songs.
Wow.
And, you know, going back to Horse with No Name, I mean, Michael Jackson, you know, covering that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
We had a history with the Jackson family that's a story unto itself, because of both Michael and Jimmy and Terry and their work with Janet. Yeah, it's a, you know, there's a story there. It's interesting, but yeah, we've met him, and he's been always very lovely to us.
But it wouldn't surprise me, because Prince was such a student of popular music that he heard that and it stuck in his mind in some way. Who knows?
So yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I think there's actually didn't we see wasn't there some kind of quote where he gave a nod to it?
I think so. Yeah. I've never met him. I never sadly didn't even see him play live, which is, I kick myself at this point. But he's such a talent, and yeah, people will say that Purple Rain. Did Prince get that from you? Hell, I don't know. I mean, it was just it was imagery again for me. I do like to, like I was saying earlier, trying to fill pictures and imagery into lyrics, and that's what it was for. And like the alligator lizard thing, I remember writing that into the lyrics on a piece of paper when I was writing the song, and thinking I'll probably go back and change that. That might be awkward, you know. But you know,
oh, thank God.
Oh, never mind.
It happened. Yeah.
It's memorable.
Hey, look, tonight.
Heavily sampled on Janet Jackson's "Someone to Call My Lover." Did they talk to you about the sampling and all that? How did that?
Well,
Yes.
That lick again. There's that guitar lick, because that's essentially.
We have an early version when they first did it, of which it is a sample of our master. And at the risk of getting a little too technical, if you use a sample of a master, you then not only are involving the writer of the song, and in this case, do as the composer, but also if you're using the master, now you have to involve the use of the master, which is dealing with the whole band.
Yeah.
Which would have meant paying the band America, and Warner Brothers owns the master. And so it gets a little thicker. So Jimmy, in this case, although we did hear an earlier version where it was sampled, our record, they then had their guy replay it. And so what you hear on the record is replayed was wrong, by the way. There's a note or two that's not quite right. And I flew with him, and we had a nice chat about it. And he said, and I said, there's a note or two. It's not quite. And he said, man, I wish I would have he was offering for me to come up and play, which would have been an honor. But as you probably know, Dewey and I spent the last half a century of our lives on the road. And so our time for extracurricular activities was severely limited.
Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about this all-time 70s masterpiece. What are your memories and thoughts on this song and the band America? What do you think of the memorable guitar line? I love it. And the alligator lizard. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.